Hello, everybody. Welcome to the FloTrack Podcast. I'm Liv Ekpone, joined with Ashley Tishins and Matt Taylor from Tracksmith. They're holding it down in Orlando, Florida, while I am here in Austin, Texas. And here at Flow Sports, we appreciate everything that Tracksmith is doing and their mission. And so we're super excited to have Matt Taylor joining us today. We have some news to share with you as this elite company is launching the Eliot Racer, a carbon-plated shoe. And Matt is going to share a little bit more about this new shoe that will hit the market in the future. So Matt, thank you so much for joining us. And Ashley, thank you for joining us as well.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Matt, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got into running for those that don't know your full story and just how Tracksmith was born?
Yeah, so I've been a runner my entire life. Started in high school and fortunate enough to be able to run in college and a little bit post-collegiately. And it's just been, part of my lifestyle from a very early age. I'm still competing now as a master's runner, so still getting out there. I've worked in the industry in a lot of different capacities. So I've been a consumer, I've been a participant, I've worked in the industry at various places. I've been mostly on the brand marketing side, a little bit on the storytelling side as well. I actually did a few projects just prior to FloTrack even launching. So Mark and I go way back. I actually think we ran against each other a few times in college, although we didn't know each other at the time. So I've been in the industry and for a very long time. Got to a point in my career in that journey where I felt like I was ready to, start a company on my own. There were a few clear points to me where I thought we could do things differently and build a distinct brand. And it's been 10 years. This year is actually our 10-year anniversary. So it's been about 10 years since Tracksmith launched.
Happy anniversary. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, obviously, Tracksmith has been in this space, like you said, for now 10 years now. And, you guys are doing some very unique things, I think, especially when it comes to, running brands. And, I have to say, me and Liv both had a chance to try your Eliot Runner, which is your daily trainer shoe. And we absolutely love them. They're super comfortable. Now I'm just curious, obviously the big news here is that Tracksmith has decided to create the Eliot Runner, this more of like a racing shoe that can be used in different capacities. So I'm just curious, what made Tracksmith decide to do this and why now?
Yeah, footwear, to be honest, has been part of the roadmap since day one, 10 years ago. It was in my, initial pitch deck slides that footwear would be a part of the journey. It just requires a little bit more time and resources. And so when we launched the brand, we focused on apparel and sort of slowly chipped away at things to a point where we were in a position to launch footwear. We had a lot of starts and stops. The Eliot Runner was probably 4 to 5 years in the making, and finally got to a point where we were really happy with that product and ready to launch that shoe. And then the Eliot Racer, which obviously is our race day shoe, it's our super shoe. That also has been in development for a long time. And actually a lot of the core concepts between the runner and the racer are the same in terms of the modularity and how we built those shoes, but obviously for different, with different intent in mind. One, an everyday trainer, and one, the scalpel you pull out on race day. It's been a bit of a journey to get here, but was always part of the plan. Race day shoe coming second is, really just as a runner, the shoe you're going to log 80-90% of your miles is something that you need, and it's really important. And then the race day shoe is, sort of comes second. So that's kind of why the order was, the way that it was. But we're ready. We have a great product. We weren't going to launch it until it was ready. We don't have any other constraints that we need to worry about, which is nice as a small independent brand. So we could take our time and wait until we were really excited about the product.
And I think the interesting thing too here is obviously this announcement is coming right, just like a day before the U.S. Olympic marathon trials. I'm curious if, any of that timing, how do you think come into play, and just how that kind of actually worked out together as well?
Yeah, for sure. So we've been testing the shoe for a long time. And we're fortunate that a lot of our team, a lot of them are runners themselves. And so we have a good supply of great wear testers. We have 3 employees actually racing on Saturday, as well as 80 plus athletes in our amateur support program. And so, a lot of the athletes who have been testing the shoe, this was really the first opportunity to really put it through a full marathon. People have been wearing it for their hard long runs and faster workouts and marathon pace and some shorter races, but the timing definitely worked for us, that this was sort of the first opportunity that some of those athletes would be able to race in the shoe.
Now, Matt, what do you think separates the Eliot Racer from all the other super shoes that are available out there? And can you just speak more on the technicality, as this is also a prototype as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this part of the footwear category has, it's very recent, but there's been very quick innovation and evolution. And our product is not a step change. It's an evolution. It's basically, we have a great core team that's been working on this, and they have years and years of experience across a lot of different brands. And so we've been able to sort of do a best of approach. The advent of super foams, we all know the pros and cons, the carbon plate, the geometries, all of those things at this point are pretty well understood by all the brands, and almost every brand has a shoe on the market. I think the small tweak that we've made is how those components come together and how they interact with one another. And so it's sort of a modular system where we have a very thick insole that sits directly underfoot. So a lot of the shoes have layers, within the shoe. And so we've been able to put, the super responsive foam right underfoot. It also has full carbon plate, obviously, and then the midsole also has supercritical foam in there as well. And so it's really the combination of the materiality of the shoe that is making it work. And at the end of the day, we weren't going to put out a product that wasn't performing. And we've been testing the shoe in a third-party lab all of 2023. Of all the shoes that were tested, which include, almost all the super shoes that our shoe had the highest energy return. It literally tested the highest of all the shoes on the market in terms of energy return. So we have that nice quantitative data point that, that's like the holy grail, obviously, for a marathon runner is knowing that you're going to get the energy return that these shoes offer. And then the qualitative is just the athletes that, have been running and racing in other shoes on the market are switching and will be racing in our shoe on Saturday.
So I know another feature of this shoe too is that kind of makes it a little bit unique as well among super shoes is this drop-in sock liner that is part of this Eliot Racer. Could you speak a little bit about that and what that feature brings to this shoe?
Yeah, for sure. So that really is, there were sort of 2 components to that. One is, again, the performance element. At the end of the day, the shoe had to perform. And in our testing, this sort of approach was testing the best. But that really came from a little bit of sort of runner insight. Again, as a team of runners who have competed at the highest and mid and low levels and all in between, we have a lot of insight on the team. And one of the things that when we were just starting to talk about it internally was the idea that you don't want any new gear on race day. You don't want to pull out something for the first time and go racing it. You want to know that it's not going to chafe, that it's going to work well, it's going to be comfortable, and all of those things. So the modularity on this shoe allows a runner to basically do all of their hard training in the shoe leading up to the race. So you have your long runs, you have your marathon pace work, your faster intervals, whatever it is that you would normally use a super shoe for. But then on race day, you're able to take out that insole and drop in a completely fresh one. And the shoes will ship with 2 sets of insoles. One of the, there's many benefits of the super foams, but one of the issues with them is that they degrade relatively quickly. And so that energy return, that you get, and that feeling that you get, that sensation, the magic, the first time you put on a pair of these shoes, it definitely goes away over time. And so this allows you to train in the shoe, and get all those miles, have the shoe form to your foot, have you get comfortable with the geometry and everything of the shoe. And then on race day, basically put in a magic insole and be fresh.
I think the sock liner is going to be a game changer for a lot of athletes. I don't care if you're a sprinter. I don't care if you're a distance runner. I think it's going to be a complete game changer in this space. And I know you've been talking about just the testing in the labs, and I know it's just been probably months and months of preparation for this. So from what we understand, some of the athletes who are part of the program have been able to test and have given feedback during the developmental stages of this shoe. What was that process like, and how did the communication between you and the product developers and the athletes themselves kind of help to fine tune this shoe? And I know it's still a prototype, but something that the Tracksmith family loves.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe it's so too simple to even think about it this way, but our team it's really small. There's probably 5 of us that are sort of like the core team on the development of this product. And a number of the wear testers are employees or athletes that have been part of the Tracksmith family and photo shoots and, past Olympic trials qualifiers. And so the communication's super easy. It's not like a very typical wear test program where you're sending out forms and, not entirely sure what they mean or, trying to sort of read between the lines. It's just, we just literally sit down and talk about it or pick up the phone and talk about it. And for sure, we have, very, standard ways that we're measuring this and capturing the data, but it's literally a group of people sitting in a room and, getting a pair, going out, for a week or two, putting the shoe through all of those things we talked about, hard, easy, long, short, and coming back and, working to make corrections. I mean, the number of iterations that we went through on this shoe, I mean, it's too many to count, but we're just constantly tweaking and improving until we got to, and even now, the shoe that the athletes will race in on Saturday, it's still not done. The commercial launch will be the summer of 2024. And so we'll still continue to make some refinements and edits between now and then.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, summer of 2024. So everyone kind of mark that time frame in your calendar so you can grab these new shoes. What are some of those things that you're hearing, Matt, from the athletes that have been training in them for a certain amount of time? What is kind of that same thing you're hearing? Like, we love the shoe. Just what are some of that feedback that you're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very comfortable shoe. Again, putting the super foam, a thick piece of super foam right under your foot creates a really comfortable, cushioned yet responsive ride, and that's that's the magic and the pop that you feel. So that's really the most important aspect of it. But certainly the ability to drop in a fresh midsole on race day was very appealing to the athletes and obviously something a little bit distinct in the marketplace that people are excited about. And we've been testing that even with the Eliot Runner. It doesn't have anywhere near the thickness or volume in the insole, but it is a much bigger insole than a traditional everyday training shoe. And so we internally have been swapping those out and, feeling the benefit and just from doing that on the Eliot Runner as well. So, that's really the core thing is the comfort and sort of the pop and responsiveness that the athletes feel.
Now, I know you kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but I feel like as we've seen over the past year, like this conversation about super shoes, especially in marathon running, has seemed to go to a whole new level as we've seen, new world records and all-time marks and other just impressive improvements across the board in distance running with these super shoes. How do you hope that the Tracksmith Eliot Racer can kind of almost become a part of that conversation, hopefully, and, see athletes wear them and take their racing, just to the next level and wherever they, these athletes hope to reach in, their pursuits?
Yeah, I mean, the shoe needs to perform. Our validation, we don't have, the resources that some of the other brands do to have athletes that are going to break world records, and that's fine. That's not our approach. And I think, the athletes that we typically work with at the level of an Olympic trials, race, whether on the track or on the roads, those athletes are typically quite influential in their communities. They're often more accessible and approachable And so, that will be really the validation for us is, if athletes are running fast in the shoes and rather than world records, thinking about personal records, that I think will be, the validation that a runner needs to say, okay, I'm going to try this product versus chasing a world record.
Mm-hmm. Matt, can you just talk about the commitment that Tracksmith has for this running community? I know, congratulations on 10 years. That's super amazing. Getting into apparel, now you're moving into the shoe space. It just shows like you guys are here to stay. Just kind of talk about your commitment and just where you would love to see Tracksmith go for 5, 10, 15 years to come.
Yeah, I mean, that's the brand was founded on the idea that, running deserves better across everything. It's not just the product, but the experiences, events and everything. And, starting with apparel, that was our entry point. And we wanted to create the best product, the highest quality product that we could. We had some advantages, being direct, being smaller and nimble. And it allowed us to, relatively quickly create a pretty distinct brand within the category. But the vision, the long-term vision has always been quite grand and quite ambitious. And, this is maybe phase 2 of it. It took us about 10 years to launch footwear. We're just at the very beginning of that process. We don't really think about Tracksmith as an apparel brand or a footwear brand. It's just a running brand. Anything that a runner would potentially want or need along their journey with this sport is something that we have as, something that we could consider. So that could be, travel. It could be, it is media and content. We already produce a lot of content, technology and other things. And so really it's just about supporting the committed runner and their training and racing.
And now, obviously, again, we're chatting. Liv's back in Austin, but you and we're here in Orlando, obviously, because we have the U.S. Olympic Marathon trials just, hours away. And, if you're looking at the athletes towing the start line, there is just a huge contingent of athletes who will be representing Tracksmith on the line here in Orlando very soon, a huge chunk of the field. What does it mean for you to see how this company is growing and representing these athletes at this level?
Yeah, it's an honor. It's really special. When I look back at, the Olympic trials in Eugene or, the last Olympic marathon trials in Atlanta, there's some of my fondest, memories and moments with the brand. We'll have 20% of the field wearing Tracksmith on Saturday. And that's, obviously that punches way above our weight, right? That's not our market share by any stretch. But I think it does show that we are committed to helping those athletes. You've been over to the camp that we have, the athletes, and we learned this from the first year that we did the program, is that there are a lot of athletes who, yes, maybe they won't be making the Olympic team, but they're just below that. And when they sort of leave the college environment, sometimes it's challenging, and you lose that camaraderie and you lose a little bit of that team feel that we all loved as part of, high school and college track and cross country teams. That's such a special moment in your life. And so the athletes that are in our program, that's probably the sort of the most feedback we receive, and the best feedback for us to receive is that they actually feel like they're a part of a team. At the last Olympic marathon trials, we had athletes that sort of in the middle of the race looked over and saw the same singlet and decided to work together in the race. They didn't know each other prior to that. And so, most athletes are they're doing it as a bit of a solo pursuit, but under this amateur support program, they feel like a part of a team. They've been down here for some of them, about a week now, doing a heat acclimation camp, coming over for brunch, coming over for dinner, getting a course preview. And so all of those things just make it feel a lot different than if they were just coming to Orlando on their own.
Speaking of the amateur program, I feel like, Matt, this is so unique in what Tracksmith does, and I feel like it's doing good for the sport. You're providing this community, this friendship amongst all these different athletes from all over the country. How did this program get started? What inspired you to just elevate that, to just help these athletes that, like you said, or maybe might not make that Olympic team, but are right there, who just need that extra oomph to help them to further their career in the sport?
Yeah, it started in the build up to the 2020 marathon trials, and we had a few employees and, again, sort of friends of the brand, people that have been in photo shoots and other things, who were either chasing or had gotten the standard. And it just started with a simple question internally: is like, is there anything we can do to support these athletes? And that sort of, grew into a bit more of a formal process. And we put out an application and people could apply. And we were shocked by the numbers of people who wanted to be a part of the program. And to your point, it's, we're not, it's small in terms of what the athletes are receiving relative to what the bigger brands are paying the best athletes in the sport. But to your point, it provides a bridge for a lot of athletes who maybe were thinking, I don't have it in me to go another Olympic cycle, or, it's really hard to do this on my own. I don't have a team. And so the program has worked really, really well. We are so excited when athletes, sort of graduate and are able to sign a lucrative, healthy pro contract. That validates the program, in our minds. And we've had, Kira Diamato was a part of the program in 2020, has gone on to set American records and, has had an amazing career. Cravant Charleston at the last track and field trials won the 100-meter dash. Will likely or soon will be, signing a contract. And so having athletes be a part of the program that succeed and get better and then are able to go on and sign, a much bigger contract, it's exactly what the program's intended to do. So
yeah, I love that. Just like all that constant support for, those athletes, like you said, that, are balancing so many different aspects of their lives, but are still trying to pursue this passion of running. I find that just very, very great to hear. So I love that. I feel like what I've gotten from this conversation is, all in all, like Tracksmith, whether it's developing the Eliot Racer, having the amateur support program, or just, the whole mission of Tracksmith in general is to kind of just continue serving this running community, that extends to basically everyone. And I'm just curious, I'd love to hear more, just kind of in closing, like, what excites you the most for Tracksmith and how you hope to continue to pursue that mission for, the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I mean, one of them would be just the global opportunity. We have been a global brand since day one, but running, as we know, is a global sport. And I think through social media and Strava and things like the World Marathon Majors, where runners are literally traveling all over the world, just opens up an opportunity for our category that maybe doesn't exist for some other sort of apparel or footwear categories outside of running. And so we have 3 stores. We've had a store in Boston since 2017. But last year we opened our 2nd store in London, and then our 3rd store in New York. And so we've been showing up at some of the international races, Berlin, London, we'll be in Tokyo, Valencia. And so that is exciting. Our team is also, we have employees in the UK, we have employees in Australia, we have employees in Portugal. And so we kind of already have a bit of a global aspirations and sort of team internally. And so that definitely excites me to think about where the brand could be in 5 years. And then again, I think, footwear, we're just scratching the surface, and really, really excited about the first 2 products that we've been able to bring to market. I'm biased, of course, but I think that for first shoes, both in the everyday training and this race day category, I think are exceptional, and really excited about how those will continue to grow and also create a bit of a halo for the rest of the footwear business in the coming years.
I'm super excited that you mentioned you're in Boston and also in New York. So Ashley and I are going to have to, when we travel there quite often. So I'm like, we might have to go check out the actual Tracksmith stores. And I must say, if you have not tried the Eliot runners, like you can see my feet, I'm wearing them today. They're super comfortable. We've tested them on the treadmill. Ashley has tested them on the trails out there here in Austin, and they're amazing. But stay tuned to the Eliot Racers coming very soon, this summer of 2024. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. And Ashley, as always, it's great to see you. And also, you can check out tracksmith.com to get everything, everything that's available to order now. So thank you guys so much, and we'll be in touch, and best wishes to you guys in Orlando as well.